feel like this organization is in a good spot. They've obviously done it in the past, so I think they know what it takes and they know how to do it, and it's only a matter of time.
The Oklahoma City Thunder are going back to the NBA Finals.
I want to win the NBA championship. Like, it's always about winning for me.
One of the greatest regular seasons in NBA history. And now, for the first time, the NBA champion resides in Oklahoma City.
We did what it took this year to be champions, and we deserve this. We rose to the moment, and here we are.
With the conclusion of the 24-25 season, we take a look at the odds to win the Western Conference, as the reigning champion Thunder have the shortest odds with plus 130, followed by the Rockets at plus 525 after acquiring Kevin Durant. When I think odds, I think of Joey from Vegas. So, Joe, I'm coming to you on this one. How big of a gap is there between OKC and the rest of the West?
Not very. And I know that might sound surprising, but let's start with this. We can't spend a month at this company flashing the graphic that says, hey, 7 different NBA champions over the last 7 years. Look at the way NBA is going. And then have this conversation and talk about how dominant OKC is and how the gap isn't very close. The NBA is a little bit different now. This team is still loaded, but it's fresh in our mind how they just ran through everybody. Number one, are they going to be anywhere close to as healthy next year as they were this year? That's a big question because Chet got hurt early in the year, not late in the year. And everybody else, top to bottom, was healthy throughout the playoff run. Number two, all right, are you going to keep up that 68-win pace like we saw last season? That's a young team that was pushing for a championship. Now you're coming off a deep run into June. Where are your legs going to be? What's the length of the celebration look like? What's the motivation for next year? They're going to be very good. They're stacked. But the gap is certainly much closer now.
Tim, why do I feel like you really disagree?
The length of the celebrations you're concerned, there was a couple guys who literally had their first sip of alcohol that night and spit it out. Like, I wouldn't worry about a championship hangover for this group. Look, this is a collection of ascending talent. Alex Caruso is their only key guy that you can even say is well into his prime. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is still getting better. He's a 26-year-old MVP. Jalen Williams, 24 years old. Chet Holmgren, 23. Chet spent a significant chunk of this season bedridden. Couldn't work out, couldn't work on his body, couldn't work on his game. You don't think he's going to get better? Guys like Case Wallace. Oh, by the way, they had a lottery pick who redshirted this season in Nikola Topic. The Oklahoma City Thunder, a team that just set the NBA record for point differential, will be better next season.
Danny?
I don't know. I'm with Joey here. I think there's a big gap with most of the league and a good amount of the West, but I don't think it's that big of a gap when you're looking at that tier right underneath them with the Houston Rockets, the Dallas Mavericks, and then also another tier below the Denver Nuggets and the Golden State Warriors. Those teams, I think, will make moves, but I think they're pretty close. OKC, yes, is a very good team. Talked about how hard it is to win a championship, having to be healthy, having to be lucky. Chet is not, he's missed a lot of games this past season. It's not the first season he's done it. So I haven't seen many full seasons of Chet being healthy. He's a big key. So if he's not healthy the whole season or postseason, which said I see them being a really good team, going back to the finals multiple years, yes. I don't know about 3 in a row or 2 in a row. There's a reason why we consider Michael Jordan the greatest of all time, doing it 3 times in a row twice, and Lakers being one of the best teams to see do it, having a three-peat. We don't see back-to-backs that often. So I think OKC could be one of those teams that can win and be in the finals every 2 or 3 years or so. I don't know if they'll do it back-to-back or a three-peat. We just won't see that anymore in this era. But, yes, it's a good team, but I think the gap is pretty close with those other groups that can get there, like Dallas and Houston. And then, of course, if Denver makes the right moves and Golden State makes the moves, those other teams that know how to win, have DNA, and can be right there close with OKC.
Yeah, as long as Denver doesn't trade Jokic. I'm kidding. On this show, obviously, we've had heated debates, and we've talked a lot about ring culture. LeBron James talked about it. Gilbert Arenas was pretty hot when we did our show on the Fanatics Fest discussing this issue and how it's essentially like tainting legacies and how we view these players. How much should rings factor into a player's legacy when it is all said and done, Joe?
It's a huge part of the equation, a huge part. It's a 3-part equation that's as old as the test of time, and it applies in every single sport. Are you ready? In no particular order, statistics plus individual awards plus championships. That's what defines legacy. You can try to move the bars up and down all you want, but if championships are suddenly not going to matter as much, then let's stop keeping score and make sure everyone feels good about themselves after the game where we have a tie and we all feel like we're champions. It's just a little bit of a joke there, to be honest, but this is part of it. When you're talking about legacy and being the greatest ever, we're looking at what your numbers were. We're looking at, did you win MVPs? Did you make all defense? And then we're looking at championships. There's no way to get around this. The whole point of all of this is to start a game and see who wins. And then throughout the course of the season, see who wins the championship. Ring culture, however you want to define it, winning rings matters. And that's never going to change from now until the end of time.
Danny?
Yeah, I'm with you, Joe. I'd be a fool to say winning doesn't matter. If winning didn't matter, I probably wouldn't be here talking to you guys. I probably wouldn't have a job. Well, my career is based off winning, and that's my brand.
Wait, I gotta pause.
Say,
Hold on, Danny. I gotta step on you, and I know we're dealing with delays, and I have to pause. No one is arguing that winning doesn't matter when they're talking about this. They're just saying that a lot goes into winning a championship, and this is obviously a team sport in the right situation, and there's got to be blame on GMs and owners. A lot of things have to fall right. And should we be discrediting players when you talk about the individual awards and the statistics if their team does not get the job done? And in the biggest moments when they had the opportunity, they did show up.
Well, Molly, that was my second part of the argument. Was I understand what LeBron was saying when that shouldn't be the end-all, be-all. Because, yes, winning does matter and it helps. But there are a lot of players that deserve way more credit, a lot more flowers that did not get a chance to win one. Everybody brings up Chris Paul, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, Allen Iverson. There's so many guys, Tracy McGrady, that I watched growing up and have paved the way and have built a culture for this league and for players that deserve to be in the conversation of greatest of all time. And the reason why they're not in the greatest of all time is because of the not winning enough rings or winning any at all. So yes, it's not the end. It shouldn't be the end all be all, but it does matter. So yes, the second part of that, Molly, was yes, winning matters, but it shouldn't be the end all be all. And there's a lot of guys that have not won rings that should be considered some of the greatest players of all time.
Tim, where do you land on this?
I mean, there's levels to all-time greats, right? And we don't have to hate on the greats that didn't win rings. We don't have to say their legacies are tainted, but we're not going to put them in the conversations with the top-level guys. James Harden, Russell Westbrook, these are guys right now, they've been MVPs, they've put up historic numbers. They're not ever going to be in the conversation with LeBron James, with Steph Curry, guys who have won multiple championships. There are levels to it, and to get to those top levels, especially the top level, you've got to have jewelry.
Fair enough. You said it well.
Why is it always, it's not players without rings, they're not being disrespected. I hate the fact that this conversation is being framed as, well, now we're disrespecting the guys that don't have the rings. No one's disrespecting them. Rings are tiebreakers. When you're sitting there working through greatness, and all we do when it comes to sports is rank things. That's what we love to do, rank things. Who's the best? Who's your top 5? Who's your top 10? Who's the greatest this year? Who's the greatest that year? You have to look at all the criteria. The championships matter. It's not disrespect to Chris Paul. It's not disrespect to Dan Marino. No one's disrespecting anybody. But when we get into the conversation about the true greatness, the top of the mountain, that's going to get factored in. It has to, because if it doesn't, why the hell are we playing any of these games, keeping scores, and tracking the playoffs the way we do? Just end the season. Do what the English Premier League does. No need for a playoff. Just end the season and we all move on. Regular season champ is fine.
I hear you, but there are some outliers. We got to leave it there. Danny, tell me this. Do you have a problem with players dictating their draft spot?
I don't have a problem with players doing anything or dictating wherever they want to go career-wise, whether it's draft spot or trade or whatever it is. It's just how you go about it. There's a professional way about going about it. I wasn't there for his draft process, so I don't know what their team was discussing. And, of course, he was shocked because he didn't work out with them. He didn't want to go there. There's a lot of teams he turned down. So you can't be upset with how the outcome is when, you don't go with the process the way that they asked you to. But I have no problem with it. I just wish and hope that these young guys understand the bigger picture. And it's a blessing just to be in the NBA, right? So I come from a different time. I didn't make any money in college, so it's different. I can't speak on it. These kids are already making millions of dollars in college, so they have a little bit more entitlement, a little more say-so. So I come from a time where, you're just excited to even be a part of the process, and you took every workout serious. But, hey, he landed in Utah. I hope he has a good career. I hope that he learns from this. He'll look back at it, and I hope his group learns something from this as well, and that they handle this professionally moving forward.
Peter?
I just find it hilarious that it ended with him in all places of Utah. I think that is mwah, chef's kiss, perfect place to be. No disrespect, but not exactly the party that you might find in Brooklyn or New Orleans. Listen, let me get this out of the way. Of course, I am all for kids who work incredibly hard, many of them coming from tough financial circumstances, being able to have an incredible NBA career and make tons of money. I'm all for that. You have to be a psycho not to be for that. That being said, the entitlement is corny to me. The I'm going to work a way to dictate where I go, as if there's a place in this league where you're not going to make tons of money to play basketball. Preference? Absolutely. That's just called being logical. But his team deserves a congratulations, you played yourselves, because you look ridiculous now. Now everyone knows you openly didn't want to go there, and he ends up probably in the least desirable, quote, place that you could end up. Whether your name's Archie Manning or Deion Sanders, or you just have a team that's meddling, I don't think it's cool. I generally think it's whack.
Well, it's funny that you bring up Arch Manning, and Danny mentioned it earlier about now how basketball players are making a lot of money. There is a scenario, guys, in the not-so-distant future where someone like Arch Manning, who's going to make so much money at the University of Texas, coming from an iconic family in terms of the Mannings, to say, like, hey, geographically, I'm going to play, let's say, Texas East, going to play from Tennessee South, and if you're the Cleveland Browns, the Northeast, a California team, don't draft me. And, oh, by the way, I have the financial wherewithal that I don't have to get to the leagues, because for decades, everyone wanted to get to that second contract, make $60 million a year as a frontline quarterback. But somebody like Arch Manning really poses an existential threat to this traditional paradigm of, hey, when you get drafted, you have to go to that team. So it's really interesting. Ace Bailey, to me, may be the tip of the iceberg.
Joe, where do you land on this?
If you could trust all 30 NBA teams or all 32 NFL teams to not screw up your potential, then yeah, there's no need for anything like this, because you can trust professionals to develop you the proper way. The thing is, you can't. There are several incompetent NBA teams, several incompetent NFL teams that mismanage talent regularly. Cleveland's always drafting in the top 5. Look at where it's gotten them. Do we really trust the New Orleans Pelicans to develop their young talent after what we've seen in New Orleans for the better part of a decade? I got no problem with this. If you have the juice to call your own shot and set yourself up like Eli Manning did in New York, which went vastly better than it would have gone with the San Diego Chargers, then you know what? Call your shot, because you only have one opportunity at this. But here's the catch, and this is very important. Do not get upset with the consequences that follow your actions. Right now, Ace Bailey is already the most disliked rookie coming into the NBA. You better be able to deal with that, okay? You better be able to deal with everything that comes your way, which also includes when you don't have the juice to call your shot like Bailey, ending up in Utah and getting upset with the situation. That was a miscalculation. But all in all, no problem whatsoever with doing something like this.
Mike T?
Yeah, Joe, I see it differently in terms of your Charger comment, because isn't the definition of greatness to make those around you better? Didn't Phillip Rivers take the Chargers to a lot of playoff appearances? Isn't Justin Herbert thriving in the Chargers now? So if Eli was a Charger, we really don't know how it would have gone. And if I'm Ace Bailey, let me take you into that conversation. If I'm Austin or Danny Ainge, what I'm saying is, what happened in the past is ancient history. Today is the first day of a new relationship. Yep. We are going to stand shoulder to shoulder to make you and your family successful, because your success is our success. So all the noise, it's irrelevant. Let's get going. Let's get you in the summer league, and let's make the best of the situation.
And ironically, the teams that he was most interested in are two teams that you could argue are not being handled well. The New Orleans Pelicans, I'm terrified for Derek Queen. Has Brooklyn really been so my point is, even if the argument is
Brooklyn, though.
No, it's Brooklyn.
It's a nice place to be.
Listen, we all want to get a piece of cheesecake at Junior's and go out. I get it. It's a good time. But they haven't exactly been able to get it together. Meanwhile, you get to go be with Danny Ainge in Utah. It's not the worst thing in the world. And I totally agree about Eli Manning. Retrospect, he looks aces. Everything was perfect. But that was sort of a crummy way to start one's career. He absolutely could have been successful in San Diego.
Danny, let me ask you this from a player's perspective. And obviously with Sanders, it's unique because he's Deion's son. And when we're talking about the Mannings, we know the lineage. Mm-hmm. Do players look at you sideways or a little bit entitled trying to pull this off at this point in your career when you've never played a game in the NBA?
Absolutely. I mean, you see people are discussing this across many different podcast platforms. You know, Paul George talked about it. You don't like to see any veteran player, doesn't like to see any young guy come in with a sense of entitlement like this. So I don't want to assume. I don't like to assume anything from anybody, especially young guys. I give everybody benefit of doubt. So I don't know his team. I haven't met them personally. I don't know what their approach was. I like to think in the positive aspect that this was a strategic move for him in trying to get to his second contract. A lot of people don't know that not all 4 years are guaranteed, and you're not going to get a second contract right away. You get 2 years, some of that window is very much shortened for a lot of players. So if you don't produce in the first 2 years, you might not get your third or fourth year picked up. You might not get to that second contract. For him, it was like, I want more time to grow. So I want to go to a team where I can be the man, I have more time to grow, where I can get a third or fourth year option picked up, where I don't need to be rushed into being great right away, and I can get my second contract. So if that's how he's moving, I'm okay with it.
To Mike's point from earlier, the smartest way to move forward for Bailey right now, and this is going to sting for the agent, but the agent's got to step up and say, this was my idea. It was bad advice. I tried to control the narrative. Ace just wants to play basketball. He didn't have anything to do with this. We were trying to control the setup. It was a mistake on our behalf. Put the client in a more favorable situation moving forward so that the fan base doesn't look at him suspiciously and the rest of us aren't talking about him like this. Because what should have been one of the best nights of your life with everybody looking at this bright future for you is now completely tainted with everyone looking at you sideways, now getting ready to judge every misstep the rest of the way. You could not have started your NBA journey off worse. The agent needs to step up and take the blame for this so the player can get on with his career.
Yeah, so you're saying we need a fall guy. I get what's happening here. Or you could just win, because winning cures all.
NBA